So hi guys, welcome back. In this episode, I promised to make this dashboard really automated. Automated in the sense that you don't necessarily have to do anything to get the values updated. So what you have to do is probably just hit the refresh button, or we can decide to schedule a refresh post. Everything is going to be refreshed for you. All right. So for every report or dashboard you want to build, you want to understand the business side of it. Now, this is a banking data set, and in a bank, right, is usually yesterday's reports that is sent out today. Now, we're going to write about 15 measures just to get every single thing in check. The first thing we're going to change is the date. So in order to change the date, don't forget you have to come here in our measures table, and also I have created a date table already. If you don't know how to do this, I'm going to put the link in the description box below. Do check that out. Now we're just going to hit our measures table here and come here, and we're going to write a measure. So what we want to get now is the current date. That is today's date, which will be on this topic part. So today's date, what we're trying to get, we're using the today function to get to today's date, but we're formatting it now to get it in the date form and also in the day, month, and year sequence. So if we used it only as day, as today, if we're using the function only as today, look at how it's going to come out. Let's get a card. So we're just going to put the current date here. And as you can see, this date is coming out with time, right? It's coming out with the 12 o'clock, 12 a.m. So this is why we have to format this particular date and tell it how we want it to come out. So using the format function, as you can see, we'll just say we want it to come out as day, month, and year. And this will do the job for us. Voila, can you see it? Now this is what we're talking about. All right, so now we've been able to do this. We're just going to place this here, and today is actually the 19th of December 2023. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to create something we'll call previous business day. And this previous business day is important because of what I just explained, right? So let me show you people. For example, we're going to hit the measures table. We're going to write a new measure. I'm just going to paste my measure here. So in this new business day, we created a variable called the current day of the week, which is today. And this 2 here is the argument that says Monday will be 1, Tuesday will be 2, Wednesday will be 3, because normally when we are counting, Sunday is first, right? So now we don't want Sunday to be first, we want Monday to be first. And if you count that, Monday is like the second. That's why we are putting that 2. So Monday will be 1, Tuesday will be 2, Wednesday will be 3, and that is what this argument 2 is talking about. Then we are saying we created another variable, days to subtract. Now, normally in banking data sets, as I explained earlier, I'm doing analysis for yesterday's data today as today's report, right? So the data set of Tuesday, any report I'm sending on Tuesday is the data set for Monday. Any report I'm sending on Wednesday is the data set for Tuesday. Thursday is the data set for Wednesday. Friday is the data set for Thursday. Now, when you want to send your data on Monday, you need the data set for Friday, right? We said for every Monday, we want the data for Friday. Tuesday, we want the data for Monday. Wednesday, we want the data for Tuesday. Thursday, we want the data for Wednesday. Friday, we want the data for Monday. We want the data for Thursday rather. So when we come back on Monday, we want the data for Friday, right? So now we said if the current day of the week is Monday, if the current day of the week is this Monday, we are telling the machine to deduct 3 days in order to get to Friday. So we're going to deduct Monday, Sunday, and Saturday in order to get to Friday. This is what this particular formula is saying. Deduct 3 days, right, to get to Friday. And else, keep deducting one day. So if that day is not Monday, deduct only one day. So if it's Tuesday, you deduct one day to get Monday. If it's Wednesday, you deduct only one day to get Tuesday. If it's Thursday, subtract one day to get Wednesday. If it's Friday, subtract one day to get Thursday. But once it's Monday, subtract 3 days to get Friday. That is exactly what this formula is talking about. Now we're asking it to return the previous date. Now, if we kept only this previous date, it was going to come out as the date and the time. That is why we need to format it to give us the previous dates in this format. All right, so I hope you understand this formula very well. So let's just commit that. Let's begin building the KPIs using that formula, okay? So now we want to get the transaction volume, which is like the yesterday's own, right? So I'm just going to put this. This is transaction volume for current date, because remember we still have the previous date measure. So now this is the transaction volume for the current date. We're just basically asking it to count the rows just with what we did in our transaction volume. Is the same thing we are doing. But right now, what we want is we're just going to put this transaction date. We filtered by getting transaction dates of the particular date we wanted. If you did not watch the previous video, please watch it so you would understand what this particular word is doing. The previous one was more like manual, while we are automating this one. In the previous video, we had where transaction table is equals to, and we kept a particular date, which was 2023-09-28. But right now, we don't want to put any dates. We're automating it by using this previous business dates. Now, this previous business day, we look, okay, we're in Tuesday, so that means I should be getting the data set for Monday, right? Now, when we bring in this previous business day, it comes in as a date. So we have to format it using a value. So this is why this value is here, okay? So let's hit enter. Now we're just going to come here. We don't have any data sets we don't have any data in for today. So I'm just going to add data for today, okay? So today is 18th, right? This is 17th, and today is 9th. So I have to add data for yesterday. So let me just add like 4 to 5 rows or 6. So I'm going to come here and just pick some. We're going to pick like 8 rows or what. So we have to change this transaction ID because it's the primary key. So we'll make this 19. We'll just make them unique 20, 21. Let's connect this. Then let us change the database and let's run it again. Okay, so now we can see 7 rows affected. Let's go back to our Power BI environment. Now we have data for yesterday. So we're just going to bring in our transaction volume and bring it in here, and you can see 7. So we can just come here and rename this for the video and just say transaction volume. Then the next thing we want to do is to get the value, which is like the same way we did the other one. Let's come here and let's get a new quick measure that measures the current day. So now we don't need the normal value. We want what? The current day value. So I'm just going to paste this, and this says total value for our current day. We are doing the same thing. We are using the sum x, and we're going to filter. Normally we filtered with the date, which was 29/08/2023, but right now we are filtering with previous business day, and this is how we will do the debit value as well. Okay, let's hit enter. It's going to go to the total value. And we can see that the total value for everything there was 1.69 million. All right, so let's just quickly format this. So we can use the Naira sign. So now we'll just format this place and leave it as total value. So we're doing the same thing for the credit value. Get the measure. The same thing really. If you have not watched the previous video, please check the link in the description box below. I think you should start from that particular video so that you can understand what we are doing here, okay? So we can see we're just going to put in this credit value for the current date, and we can see, whoa, we had quite a number of credit value, 1.14 million. All right, so let's just format this and use the Naira sign. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for the debit value. As you can see, we are filtering. We want to see the debit and for the previous business day. So let's hit enter. Let's also format this with the Naira sign. So we'll get the debit value current 549. So let us work on this. I'm renaming this field. Let us work on renaming this field as well. Okay, so lastly for this KPI is our net value. Just like in our previous net value, it was total credit minus total debit, right? So for this one, we're also going to have credit value minus debit value. We're just using the current day credit value minus debit value. Okay, so if we run this thing and we get a negative sign, we can decide that, oh, we don't want our stakeholders to receive a negative sign. If you don't want them to see a negative sign, you can use a function you call absolute, ABS, right? This is the function. Once you use this ABS, it's going to remove every negative sign and it becomes an absolute positive number, okay? But we don't want that here. So let us format this using the Naira sign. Net value. So you can see the net value is 580 something thousand. Let's just clean this thing up. I want these ones in one decimal place. If you're still watching this video, it means you're gaining value of it. So please subscribe and like this video. That is a way of encouraging me to keep pushing out content like this. And tell me in the comment section if you've subscribed. Thank you all so much. Now let's get back to learning. So I'll just rename this visual. Now we are done with these KPIs, right? The next thing we want to do now is we want to get our top 2 customers, which we got that previous time. So now to do that, let's just get a table and drag this in. So for this table, we want to see the customer name. We want to see the the total, no, not the total value, the total current value. So at this point, you can actually remove this total value, debit value, net value, because we're not using that anymore. So after the total value, we're going to get the credit value. Then we're going to get the debit value and the net value for current date. Okay, so what you're just going to do is rename this for the visual that is here. Rename it as just total value and whatnot. So I'm quickly going to format this table and just want to remove the total. I want to turn off the totals. Then put on some vertical lines. Let's make the column header bold. All right, so that is it. Now, this is quite a lot of it. We want just the top two positive net value, positive. So for that, we're going to come to our net value. We're going to filter off this net value and want to show items when the value is greater than 0, because we don't have quite a lot here. We just have 7. So obviously, we're going to see when the value is greater than what? Let's just say 0. And we're going to apply this filter. And we can see the items that are more than 0. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy and paste this table, and we're going to push it to this other side, so we do the same thing. So here, what we want are just the customers with the negative net value. The next thing we want to do is we want to automate these writings, right? Now, we don't want to have to come back here every day to say, okay, yesterday was 1.6, today is 1.7, and we're going to be writing it. No, we want it automated. So we want to automate this word here, which will tell us if this one reduced from 0.6 to 0.4, it should write reduced. If it increased from 650 to 665, it should write what? Increased. All right. So the first thing I want to do for that is to create a previous business day, because this date that we are looking at is not this particular date. This date is today. This one is yesterday's date, which this analysis is for, right? So the previous day, today, that is Tuesday, this analysis is for Monday. That means the previous day, which will be Friday, is going to be this one. Okay, so let's create a date for that. We're just going to go to our measures table, and we're going to get a new measure. So what we are saying is we want the previous business day minus 1, right? So that's how we are going to get our own previous date. And just as we did that time, we formatted it to this day, month, and year. Okay, so let's just hit enter. Now we're just going to get a box. Let's copy and paste this. Now this box is where we're going to get our 2 previous day. Now you can see our previous day was 17th. Our previous day was 17th, and this analysis is for the 18th, which was yesterday. Our previous day is 17th. So I'm just going to remove this colored value, and I'm going to reduce this a lot so it fits. So now, rather than have all of this, I'm just going to the previous day. I'm just going to drag this previous day here. This is our 2 previous days. So we're going to get our previous day, which is here, previous day, as you can see. So what we're going to be doing now is as you can see, we are saying the total value increased from so on this day, which was like 2 days before, to whatever it is on this day. Total value increased from what was yesterday's value, right? What was yesterday's total value? So let's get that. So let's create a measure. And this is for the 2 days previous. Total value for the 2 days previous, which is also the same way we got our total value, but we are putting previous business day minus 1, right? So we're going to hit enter. We're just going to put our measure here so we can see what the previous business days measure. Let me just try to format this right now, make it transparent. I am also going to go turn off digital label. So this is our previous day. So later on, I will arrange everything so it fits. So for our current day is our normal. Our current day is for this normal one that we have. So to get our current day, we'll go to total value current day. And you see that we had this previously and we have this today. All right. So this is basically what we are going to do for all of them. So right now I'm going to get the two previous credit value. That's the 2 previous days for the credit value, because now we have the total value. So let me just get the credit value. Okay, so now we're just going to paste in our measure, which is the same thing as what we used before, just that we're using -1 right here. Okay, so let's hit enter. Now let us try to copy and paste this. Let's copy and paste this so you can see this was what the credit value was. So there was no debit value. All right, let's see what the debit value. So debit value, or rather credit value for the current day. Today's credit value is 1.14. So let's look at the debit value. We're just going to go create another measure. Which is the same thing, just that we are minusing 1 from the previous business day. Hit enter. And now we want to copy and paste. So let's copy and paste for the debit. So we can see there is no credit value for that. There is no debit value for that day. So let's just go switch things up a bit. This is the day on 17th. Let's make one credit value. Let's make this 2, and let us make this debit. Okay, let us run this and see. All right, so let's go look at our database and see. All right, now we have some values. As you can see, you can always tweak it once it is, connected. Now we can see we have some debit value and our credit has increased for sure. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to get our net value. So our net value is quite easy, just the same way we got our net value for this one is how we're getting it. So let's go create a new measure. So this minus this. If you don't want it to come as a if you don't want it to have any negative sign, you can use the function absolute to do that. I'm just going to hit enter. And let me see what the total value is. Then let me look at today's own. This is the 2 days before. Now let's look at yesterday's net value so we can see net value. Okay, so let's look at the debit value for the debit value. All right, so this is basically everything, right? We're still going to arrange it. Now, the next thing we want to change is this increase. What if there's a decline? Like now we can see this one, there's actually a decline from this number to this number, right? For this one, there's an increase from this number to this number. We also want it to change automatically without us having to be there to type it, right? So we need to apply some formulas in order for it to change automatically. Okay, so for that we are going to create a measure called total value increase and decrease. So it's just basically to put this text. If so thing is more, you use increase. So I'm going to paste my measure here, and this measure is just saying we're creating a variable called previous value, and this previous value is what it is, this particular variable we have created, which is 2 days prior, the total value of 2 days prior, right, which is this. And we're creating another one called total value for current date, which is this total value for current date, which is this particular one here, and this is it. So we're saying we're going to return if total value for current date is greater than total value for 2 days before. That means if this one is greater than this one, return increase, else decline, right? So if this is greater than this, let the text be the total value increased. But if this is greater than this, it is going to write what? Declined. So this is basically what this is saying. We've created these variables and we are saying if total value for current day is less than 2 days prior, that's the 2 days before, then it should be what? It should be written as increase, else it should be written as decline. Okay, so let's hit enter. So now let me copy and paste this card so we can just put that here and see for ourselves. So this is total value increase and decrease, and we can see that this increased, right? So let's test for the one that actually decreased. Okay, let's test for the net value. The net value actually decreased. Okay, So let's just write a new measure. Let's test this net value. So guys, this is our measure. We are saying we created a previous value called to previous net value, just like we did to get this, and our current value, which is this. And we said if this is greater than this, then we should write increase, else we should write what? Decline. Okay, so we're just going to hit enter and we're going to see about that. So let's just get our net value, increase and decrease, and put it here. And we can see that there has been a decline in net value from so on so to this date. So that is basically what it is. So let's get our measure for our credit value and debit value. So guys, now we have our credit value increase and decrease, and we also have our debit value increase and decrease. So what we're going to do now is just to change this whole thing so that every single thing fits. All right. Okay, you guys, I am making this a mini statement because it is so hard trying to fix this. So I'm just going to make this a mini statement. That is, there is an increase in, then I'm going to add the value, and I'm going to say from so. I think I'm just even going to give this some space and put something value, right? And I'm just going to say from value from. So I think this will save a lot of time. It will save a lot of time because trying to fit those things in little by little is so hard. Okay, so I'm just going to hit enter. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, let me remove this and let us see here. This makes a lot of sense. So there's an increase in, so obviously total cannot fit here. So I'm just going to increase the size so it fits. All right. So that's what we'll do. Hi guys, so something like this is what we're going to have. There is an increase in total value from this value on this day to this value on this day. This is it. So that's just basically how you would get this.